everyone. Welcome to Switchblade Sisters Social Club, the true crime podcast where two friends exploit their worst fears for your entertainment.
You're welcome.
I'm Dee, a writer and podcaster.
And I'm Isla from Criminally Good Books, a true crime and crime fiction bookshop in York.
Follow us on all the socials.
Except for X, obviously.
Or have a look at our website, switchbladesisterssocialclub.com.
Check them out for all our latest episodes, events, deals, and other weird stuff.
Listeners' discretion advised.
Hi. Hi, Kitty Pie.
Hello, cutie patootie. We were just having a quick catch up about my annual conference, probably a few weeks ago now, back in podcasting chronological terms. But I had my Britain-Palestine Project conference because apart from this podcast, I also host the Britain-Palestine Project podcast and do their events. And it was amazing. We had other fellow podcaster, William Dalrymple, who's a historian, amazing podcast called Empire. And we had Professor Avi Schleim, who's writes a lot about the history of Israel and Palestine. And then we had a woman who I love called Noor Odeh. She's a political analyst and she's just phenomenal. And all of these are on Spotify, on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. So go and check them out if you want to, find out a little bit more.
I'm so proud of you, Dee, because you just mix in all these amazing circles and you do so much. And I just think you're phenomenal. And do you ever sometimes mix with these people and just be like, these people are really cool?
Yeah. Regularly, I'm like, what is my life? But it happens a lot of different times. Like when we were interviewing Steve Hodel and Louis Ferranti, a fucking ex-mobster. And then I have to quickly change hats and hang out with royalty from Jordan about Palestine stuff, and you're just like, this is bizarre. But the last couple of days was very much Gaza focused. We had the chair of medical aid for Palestinians speaking at our conference, Professor Nick Maynard, who's an amazing surgeon. Many of you would have seen him on the news because he went over to Gaza loads of times. And, obviously you and I have a history working for St. John Eye Hospital where we fundraised, you and me, the dream team, to make a new hospital in Gaza, because we had a clinic in Gaza when we started and we were involved in fundraising to build a hospital, which is unfortunately very badly damaged, but
it is.
They're operating out of field hospitals and so forth. So it's a lot, it's a lot. Like when he was doing his talk, people were crying in the audience.
I can only imagine. It's heartbreaking watching things in the news every day, but then to be surrounded by people that are supportive, I imagine would be really uplifting, but also would be like a shared.
It was amazing. We always have this problem when you work on any issue, when you do events like this, are you preaching to the converted? But that's useful. We always talked about this, didn't we? It's useful because the converted need to have a bit of moral support and be with like-minded people every now and then when they're working on something so difficult. And then also they need to have the information to be able to go forth and continue with their work, like new facts, new resources, et cetera, et cetera. But listening to Nick Maynard talking about how he's having to perform operations on children without anesthetic because they didn't have any, or not being able to do a lot of surgeries, but the people they did manage to save, having those people die from malnutrition and just basic stuff afterwards.
This seems so senseless, doesn't it?
So awful, so awful. Not to mention the fact that Gaza already was having people dying from preventable diseases. There's lack of vaccinations, lack of painkillers, lack of just basic hygiene resources, et cetera, et cetera. And that was before the last 2 years of war. So it's just horrendous. So if you want nightmares, go and listen to that talk specifically. But it was really interesting. We had a political panel. We had a panel full of organizations and lawyers talking about what Britain can do, because Britain obviously has a very historic moral responsibility in the region. They called it a mandate of Palestine, a British mandate of Palestine. It was basically a colony. And the way that Britain left Palestine, same as with other colonies, was in possibly the worst way.
Yeah. Here you go. Give it to someone else.
Not even. Kind of like, oh, this isn't really working out for us anymore. So let's just run in the middle of the night and leave them to sort it out, even though we've militarily trained both parties and promised both parties the same thing. And armed both parties. I'm sure it'll be fine. Guess what?
It's not fine.
No, no, it's not fine. So there's a lot of talk about like what Britain can do, what individuals in Britain can do. So do check that out. It was kind of a mix of super depressing and also uplifting and hopeful, which is
Good. Like that's
the
what we
nature of the Palestinian issue. Yeah.
You must just have to kind of like get your brain ready for every single event, because I imagine that they're all like that, super depressing and also super uplifting. So you're just like,
well, in all honesty, because I was in event organizing mode, only a fraction of the actual talks sunk in at the time because, I'm running around and doing things. And then I've just spent the last 2 days editing the videos and listening to the talks. And that's when I had my moments of big tears and stuff, which was, in the comfort of my own home.
We did some phenomenal events together.
I still remember when we had Queen Noor of Jordan talking about,
her husband.
Yeah, and just training, she worked very much on like education of women and girls and everything. And today, it's kind of linked to that in the sense that this case, I don't know if it is a case. I'm not sure if there was a specific crime in terms of the law. It's just a horrendous incident that I was made more aware of when we worked together at St. John. Today's episode takes us underground to a place most Londoners barely think about, the escalator. The slightly grotty, slightly humming, deeply British escalator. So on the 18th of November, 1987, during the evening rush hour, a small fire broke out beneath a wooden escalator at King's Cross St. Pancras station. It should have been minor. It wasn't. Within minutes, a flashover tore through the ticket hall in a fireball so intense that survivors described it as an explosion from hell. 31 people died and over 100 people were injured. And an entire culture of complacency was exposed. So I'm doing the 1987 King's Cross station fire. Many of us people, Londoners, people that have lived in London know of this fire, but again, very few of us know the ins and outs. I'd already kind of always heard of this 87 fire, not really known much about it. And this episode I want to dedicate to someone who will never listen to this, but maybe I'll send him a link and try to get him to. Liam Hackett. Do you remember him?
Oh, yeah, Liam.
He was one of our St. John supporters. He's a member of the Order of St. John up in Scotland, but also Londoners, a retired firefighter who fought this fire. And he used to come in and regularly see us at St. John. And I had quite a few conversations with him about this. And I used to go through King's Cross specifically to get to the office, which is where I used to always see the plaque. I don't know if you can see, but there's like a little clock and a plaque. It says, in memory of the 31 people who lost their lives in the King's Cross underground fire of the 18th of November, 1987. So Liam Hackett used to come in, and this is what a post he made on his, I've rinsed his Facebook because I remember he always used to post amazing photos on the anniversaries, right? Amazing and horrific, obviously. So in 2025, he wrote, today with sadness, I recall the tragic and horrific fire at King's Cross Underground Station in London. 31 people, including my colleague, Station Officer Colin Townsley, GM of Soho Fire Station, died in the inferno under the streets of London. I was Duty Assistant Division Officer in Northeast area of London that night. I attended the fire and was then ordered to the Royal Free Hospital to deal with the casualties. In particular, I was to look out for Colin, a dreadful night and one that still haunts me. So I took some of the pictures that he shares on Facebook. He's posted some of the old newspaper articles, which you can imagine it was just so shocking for everyone involved.
This is obviously really ignorant of me. I remember now knowing about it, but it wasn't something that I really knew that much about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you didn't live in London. I didn't live in London either. Yeah, we were children. Neither of us were living in London. It was just one of those, not urban myths, because it obviously happened, but just like one of those things you kind of know about in passing has happened. This is his colleague, Colin, who passed away in the fire. You can just see like first aid responders, ambulances, police, like crowding around outside the station. Smoke coming out from the station itself. And then this is the inside. I know this is harrowing. Because like for someone who's claustrophobic and doesn't like being underground and has had moments of like when I have high periods of stress, I talked about panic attacks in a previous episode very recently. They've quite often been on my commute, and it's because I have my heightened anxiety combined with the crowds and being underground that just triggers me. Luckily, I don't have to do that so much anymore because this picture is what will flash in front of my mind. This is basically the top of some escalators. And, you know, like King's Cross has the really long one. Some of the stations have escalators that just go on for days. The whole tunnel is just burnt out. The escalators are like practically melting.
You imagine the heat in there, Dee, is it'll be like a closed tin can.
It's just awful. Awful, awful, awful. So those were pictures from Liam's Facebook. But I want to set the scene, okay? I want to set the scene, 1980s London. And I'm just going to show you some other pictures. This is what King's Cross looked like at the time. It's a station that both of us are so familiar with, right? Like we've traveled through a million times. So it's quite cute seeing it 1980s King's Cross.
So much has happened to it. Like, you know, you've got King's Cross, St. Pancras and all the new...
Yeah.
They don't even recognise that outside of it.
I don't know whether that even exists anymore. That might be where they have like the food market and the underground station coming out now. Who knows? And then here we've got the stairs. This is past, I'm guessing it's post 1987 actually, because you've got metal staircases. But here, this is ticket entrance somewhere, hall, I don't know. It's just like some cute old-timey 1980s photos of King's Cross. It is, for those of you who don't know, it's a huge station. It's an international train station because it has the Eurostar as well. Eurostar used to go out of Waterloo for only a couple of years, and then they moved it to King's Cross, which was bizarre that it needed to move so quickly. But anyway, so now it's got King's Cross, St. Pancras goes up north, the train station. King's Cross is more the tube station from what I understand. So they're kind of linked. And it was opened to passengers. Do you want to guess the year or the decade?
1928.
1852.
What the? Is that trains or tubes?
Probably trains. I can't remember. But the tubes have been running for a long time. Like it's not much. The underground era began in 1863. So only 3 years later, you had the Metropolitan Railway, which was the first underground railway, the first tube between Paddington and Farringdon, which isn't far from King's Cross. And then over the decades, obviously multiple lines were added and different depths linked by passageways, stairways, escalators. I mean, I can't even imagine what a map of the underground looks like a 3D map of like the layers, you know, the levels, as well as...
There must be something. Yeah.
There must be some kind of 3D map, right? It must be bonkers. So King's Cross was opened in 1852, 14th of October. It was designed by Louis Cubitt, which is a name I've heard of. It's quite a unique name and I like it. So I'm going to research it. As the Great Northern Railway's London terminus. So, you know, you get trains from King's Cross up to York, for example, to see your best friends. It was uniquely built at 5 different levels at the time, and it was the busiest station on the network. In 1987, over 250,000 passengers on an average weekday. So 250,000 people going through this station. So at the time, it was like the busiest. And if we want to be able to picture 1987 Britain, Margaret Thatcher is Prime Minister at the time. Smoking is still allowed on parts of the underground. And many of the tube escalators are made of wood. Now, let me just tell you those last 2 facts together. Smoking is allowed and tube escalators are made out of wood. Doesn't that sound like a bonkers combination? I mean, I remember some of this. I remember being able to smoke on planes in the back rows, you know, and going with my dad.
I'm sure it's all changed now. But I remember sitting in some of the old British Airways planes with the cigarette thing in the...
Yeah, I mean, you still... That's when you know you're on an old plane, is when you still have the little flick.
Still got that, and you're like, shit. Those wooden staircases and the smoking, obviously there's so many decades of it being okay and there not being massive fires and stuff. But it just, I mean, I know we're very health and safety conscious now, but it just seems flames and wood.
Yeah, it's kind of scary how often there were little fires in these stations, but I'll get onto that. So King's Cross now, it's a total maze. Like, I go through it all the time. I could not draw you a map of it at all. You go, you follow signs. Luckily, it's very well signposted, but I couldn't tell you what area the trains are in, the tubes are in, how to get to a single line. No, I just get to any entrance and follow the signs. Same with going anywhere in King's Cross. I'm like, just find any exit and I'll figure out where the hell I am. Also, that whole area has changed so much. Coal Drop Yard is like really trendy and cool now. That didn't exist like 10 years ago when we were going through it. It's super cool now. They've got like whole market areas and like stables and all sorts there. It's gorgeous. Anyway, so you've got now Piccadilly, Victoria, Northern Line, Metropolitan, Hammersmith and City, Circle Line, and then obviously all of the trains all going through the station. And beneath the Piccadilly line platform is a 60-meter wooden escalator. It would be dry, grease-soaked, and packed with decades of rubbish and cigarette ends. So basically, kindling.
Why would there be rubbish on it?
Things that fall down the side.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
So at 7:30 on this day, 1987, a passenger reports smoke coming from the base of the Piccadilly line escalator. So a small fire is spotted beneath the step. And staff attempt to deal with it. But here's the problem. Escalator fires happen all the time. I know. They were usually small. And the attitude, the way to deal with them was to wait and see if it burns itself out. I shouldn't be laughing, but like it's because my anxiety is so high just reading that, huh?
I mean, I can imagine if it was like a little thing and there's no other fuel for it to burn, it would burn quite quickly and it might be like a bit of paper or whatever.
It seems risky. Like, I get that most of these little fires obviously must have just burnt themselves out, but then every now and then one of them won't, and then something like this will happen. And remember, this isn't just inside a building. This is underground. The fire brigade were called, but there wasn't really any sense of urgency. And also, no one was evacuated, like no one in the ticket hall above or underneath, no one was evacuated. So the results this time were not good. It didn't just burn itself out as we hear. You saw the picture that I showed you of the result of this one, right?
Yeah,
the entire tunnel just burnt out.
Yeah.
So 7:45 p.m., everything changed. A phenomenon never before documented in this context occurred. Flames, which had been creeping up under the escalator, suddenly shot upwards in a curved jet, hugging the underside of the escalator. And this created what was known as a massive flashover in the ticket hall. Basically, a fireball erupted across the ceiling. Temperatures reached 600 degrees Celsius within seconds.
No, how? Oh my God.
So these people in the ticket hall had absolutely no warning. Witnesses that survived this described a roaring sound, a wall of flame, and bodies just collapsing instantly.
I remember this because I remember staring now, it's all coming back to me and thinking, how on earth must this have happened and how awful must it have been?
Yeah. And it was, the clock is like at the top of the escalators, which in the place that must have been this ticket hall, at the top of the escalators when you come out of the tube section. So one firefighter, like I said, he said it looked like a blowtorch and 31 people died. Amongst them, as I said, was Station Officer Colin Townsley of the London Fire Brigade, who became trapped while leading a search team. Also, a guy called Alexander Williamson Fallon, originally unidentified until January 2005. So it took 16 years to identify this man. Forensic scientists confirmed his identity by analyzing skull fragments, matching a unique Japanese-made brain surgery clip found in the remains to his medical records. I think you can imagine why he went unidentified for so long. He was a 72-year-old homeless man from Scotland who had lost touch with his family in the late 1980s. So there wasn't anyone that noticed. If there was someone who was like, he was in touch with, he would have probably been identified much sooner. They would have put two and two together much quicker, right? So bear with me because there's a lot of these, but I want to read a list of the names. And also please bear with me because you know I'm going to mispronounce probably half of them. Betty Afua Agyapong, Terence Alonso Best, Mark David Bryant, Andy Burdett, Elizabeth N. Byers, Trina Chappell, Dean T. Cottle, Shushayla N. Cottle, Felix Dearden, Neville H. Eve, Jane A. Ferry, Natalie A. Falco, Alexander Williamson Fallon, who's the one I just mentioned, Jonathan R. George, Kutalam Govindarajan, Graham D. Hall, Michael Holden, Ralph Hummerstone, Bernadette Kearney, M.A. Bobby Keegan, Mohammed Shoaib Khan, Marco Liberati, Philip G. Marks, Lawrence V. Moran, Lawrence S. Newcomb, SRN, Stephen A. Parsons, Christopher Wallace Room, Rai Singh, John F. Joseph Senpri, Ivan Tarasenko, Station Officer Colin J. Townsley, GM, and the many people that were injured, the family of all of those people, those injured, those that had died. These are all victims, survivors as well. Many of the victims were found near exits. They had been overcome by toxic smoke in seconds. The fire didn't actually burn for hours. The deadly part happened in just under 5 minutes.
Oh my God. Imagine fear and like running for the exit.
Love a good murder? Come visit me, Isla, at Crimley Good Books in York, your one-stop shop for crime fiction and true crime reads, as well as gifts and author events. Or browse online at crimleygoodbooks.co.uk.
Let me give you a minute-by-minute timeline. It's very short because it's only a few minutes, as I said. 7:29, passenger Mr. Squire notices a small fire under a step on escalator 4 and reports it to the ticket office. At 7:30, 1 minute later, passenger Mr. Carmoon sees smoke and a glow and hits the emergency stop, shouting. Staff and police move to investigate. So, someone's taking it a bit more seriously. 7:32, British Transport Police officers attempt to call HQ for fire brigade, but the radios fail. This is another problem, is communication in the tunnels. So the radios fail. This is pre-Wi-Fi days anyways. We don't have Wi-Fi. Well, it's starting to get better, but it's just very difficult to maintain a sustainable communication system that far underground. 7:33 to 7:34, British Transport Police HQ calls 999, the fire brigade, to get them out there, and they arrive a couple of minutes later. 7:41, police request trains to not stop, and station staff start directing passengers to the Victoria line instead of the Piccadilly line and other. Yeah, I know. It's bonkers. This is what I mean. There's no direct crime, but it's just
get
so many.
Get the fuck out of the station.
Get everyone the fuck out. Stop everything. Now that would happen. We know that. You forget a bag on a train and they're shutting the whole city down, but at the time. So fire appliances arrive at 7:42. I'm guessing that means pumps, trucks, I don't know. And officers are assessing the fire. The trains are still being told not to stop. So Piccadilly line, Victoria line, and Northern line continues for the next few minutes at the very least. And then 7:45. So this is the first report of fire at 7:29. At 7:45, there's the flashover, the whoosh that engulfs the ticket hall. The clock stops at 7:45 as heat damages it. And at 7:45, within a minute, there's a major incident, in quotation marks, being messaged across all the radios. So at 7:46, Victoria line trains are now stopped and being told to evacuate. So there's 150 to 200 people on the first train that was stopped. Now they're trying to clear out these people in other directions. Like I said, in the maze that is at King's Cross Station, avoiding the areas that are being affected by this fire and by the flashover. Between 7:55 and 8:17, one of the gates, Bostwick Gates in Midland City Subway, which is one of the exits, I'm guessing it's by the Midland Hotel that's by King's Cross. One of the gates was locked. And it's only later when a staff member notices it, the staff lock it, and then a cleaner goes by at 8:17. So 22 minutes later, sees that it's locked and unlocks it. So that's what allows for the evacuation of some badly injured passengers. 8:16, London Ambulance Service declares a major incident. And at 8:41, they declare that the fire has been surrounded. And at 1:46 the next morning, they indicate that the fire has been contained and they continue with search and salvage. They locked some of the exits. They locked one of the exits at least.
It's like Hillsborough, it's like you lock the exits in the football ground. It's just unreal.
So the subsequent public inquiry, because obviously there was one, led by Sir Desmond Fennell, uncovered something shocking. The way that the escalator trench was shaped created previously undocumented fire behavior. So, like I said, this system of the heat building up beneath the escalator, and then the flame spread horizontally, and superheated gases accumulate at ceiling level, and then they kind of explode. And this phenomenon is known as a trench effect. Discovery of this revolutionized fire safety science. So they'd not really known very much about this phenomenon before.
Is it backdraft?
I mean, it's a different thing, but it's kind of like that, like understanding more about how fire behaves in different settings is so important in different settings, underground, with this ventilation system or lack of ventilation, these different gases made available to it, et cetera, et cetera. So just like, I watched so many videos on it. It was fascinating, but it's the kind of thing that like I watch and I'm like, I get it. And then as soon as the video stops, I'm like, no, I forgot it. But basically, it was a massive design flaw in the escalators that caused a larger than expected fire. So why are we covering this in a true crime podcast, though? Well, because it wasn't just an accident. There were criminal elements as it happened. So, because the one thing you would argue they could have predicted was like, oh, if we regularly have escalator fires, maybe we shouldn't let people smoke on them, and maybe we shouldn't have them made of wood. But smoking had only recently been banned on the escalators, but it was still happening. And if they ban it, that to me implies they know it's dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. And like, were they fining people, or was it just like
really slack enforcement? Because they're still, I think, allowed to smoke in other areas. So it would have been really tricky too, So there was persistent smoking despite the 1985 smoking ban. There had been 46 escalator fires between 1956 and 1988, described to the court, with 32 attributed to smokers' materials. So they banned smoking on the escalators, not for people's health, but because they knew it was a fire risk. So if they knew it's a fire risk, you would have thought that a lot of emphasis would be placed on enforcing this law. 2 weeks before the disaster, gaps between the treads and the skirting board on escalator 4 were noticed, and approximately 30% of fire cleats were missing, making it easier for a match to fall through and for a fire to flourish. So basically, that escalator had not been maintained well.
I can't imagine a match, someone lighting a match, smoking, and then throwing it away. Like A, littering, B, it's a fire in an enclosed space.
I won't even put a match in the bin until the next morning when I light a candle. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, I'll just drop it into this huge black hole that might have anything in it. Cleaning under the escalator was really infrequent. Staff had minimal fire training. There was no proper evacuation protocol, which freaks me the fuck out because it is underground, And management had dismissed previous fire risks, which of course is just very easy for them to do, bury their head in the sand if the alternative is a lot of work, effort, money, etc. London Underground had experienced around 400 escalator fires in the previous 30 years. 400! And yet wooden escalators remained. So that's over 13 escalator fires a year on average. Of course, it's going to be cost and disruption to the network and so forth. I mean, I remember them changing those escalators at King's Cross once. I don't think it was from wooden to metal. I think they were just renovating them. And it was like a decade's worth of work, something crazy.
Do we know that they were actually changing them anyway, and that it was just happened to be that this was one that was unchanged? Like, was it something that they were aware of?
Yeah, they were, I think, replacing them slowly, and new stations were getting metal ones, but they weren't banned or anything. They were just like, oh, you know what? It's probably better if they're not flammable. But I think that basically up until this point, people were so blasé about fires on the escalator underground. It's just bunkers. So this Fennell report was super damning, and it concluded that the London Underground management had, in quotation, a failure of imagination, which is possibly the most British way to describe catastrophic institutional neglect, right? A failure of imagination.
A failure of imagination. That is so... Who said that?
The Fennell report. So from this inquiry.
Like, to me, a failure of imagination is if I've not come up with like a super cool design for my new bathroom or something.
Yeah, so I've just gone for standard black and white tiles. Yeah.
Oh, I have to tell you something. I have just seen the largest spider I have ever seen.
Wait,
And it
in
is,
your recording studio,
yeah, and it
do you need
is,
to move house?
no, it is so big, and I squeezed it. It's got a big, fat, juicy butt, and it's moving fast, and it went behind like one of the wooden slats, and I have never seen anything this big. It's not like one of those big ones that are skinny. It's a big one with a big bottom. It's
Do you need to
huge.
like
No,
call
it's
Aaron?
fine. No, I'll
You're
just
so
leave it.
brave.
So brave.
So, as a result of this report and this inquiry, all wooden escalators were replaced, although the last one was only replaced in 2014 at Greenford.
Right, okay.
And that one was dated from 1947. Smoking was banned entirely on the underground, and the fire detection systems were completely overhauled. Staff training was radically improved, and they tried to sort of transform the entire safety culture, which is a lot easier off the back of a huge incident like this, in the sense that everyone's going to be more paranoid and aware, right? King's Cross was rebuilt, as we know. We use it many times. I was there the other day, but 31 families never recovered. And I would argue many more people's lives than that, because the people that were injured, the people that were there that weren't physically injured, but you would not come out of that unscathed mentally. And, you know, all the people, what I was thinking when I was reading this is that the thing I can most relate it to is the 7/7 underground bombings and on the buses as well. I was still at home when that happened, but I was due to go and do my commute soon after. And I obviously stayed home that day because of what happened. But I just thought, like, that must have brought back so many memories of this. Totally different thing. This wasn't a terrorist incident, but that level of chaos, the fear that people must have felt, the fact that everything's amplified so much when it's underground.
Yeah.
I've just thought, like, wow, that must have been particularly difficult in a specific way for people that live through this. So why does this case matter? Well, it wasn't a serial killer. It wasn't a single villain. It was, like I said, systematic and systemic failure, a chain of small dismissals, a culture that normalized risk, and a belief that it's always been fine before until one night it wasn't. And if you've ever stood on a tube escalator in London and wondered why they're metal, as I'm sure you do all the time, now you know. I think I'm going to take the bus from now on.
I know. But then, you know, buses have problems. Look at 7.
Yeah, I just would prefer to not be underground when there's a dramatic incident,
I know.
So, sources: the official investigation into King's Cross underground fire. There's a PDF you can download called A Technical Investigation of the Fire at London's King's Cross Underground Station, Moody and Jagger. Bunch of newspaper articles, which I will share. London Fire Brigade Museum. And I don't know if it's a physical one you can actually visit, but the British Transport Police has also got a history hub with links. I'm surprised because I feel like they were part of the problem. But anyways, a lot of stuff from Hansard, from Parliament, because obviously they talked about it prolifically to introduce these new laws. Loads of Guardian and ITV articles. All of the links in the show notes. Keep an eye out for that plaque because you will definitely notice it now. Shout out to Liam Hackett because he is an example of how people are still living with it today. And yeah, I just thought you might want to have a little palate cleanser. What do you think?
Yeah, I do want a palate cleanser. I was just going to say, I used to work with someone. Whenever we would go to meetings, her legs would be like jelly. She didn't want to go in the underground. And like, not that I belittled it, but I was like, come on, like, we're going to be late for this meeting. And it was because she was caught up in it. And she really hated going through King's Cross, but we needed to. We often did. Or she would say, I will meet you there.
Find her own alternative way, yeah. I mean, it's a major thoroughfare in London. It would have, like you said, if she got caught up in it, the whole of the system would have shut down or slowed down, would have been disrupted. And so there would be many people that will have struggled to get home that night and then soon after found out why and been like, fuck, that could have been me, you know? There'll be loads of people that'll be like, oh my God, I was in King's Cross literally 5 minutes before that happened. It just would have messed with so many people. So on that note,
Oh, it's just nightmares.
this will help. My Mind the Gap quiz.
Okay.
And the first one, I want you to know that you should get because I literally said the answer in this episode.
Okay.
Question 1. What is the oldest underground line? Is it A, Victoria, B, Jubilee, C, Metropolitan, and D, Circle?
Is it Metropolitan?
Yes! And I'm going to give you a bonus point if you could tell me what color it is.
Purple?
Yes! 2 points. Okay, question 2. What happens if you make eye contact on the tube?
Eye contact.
A, you become best friends. B, you must apologize immediately. C, it's considered mildly illegal. Or D, nothing, but it feels illegal.
I would say D, nothing. It feels illegal.
Yeah.
Because like you look up and you're like, ooh, and then you look down.
There's a lot of this.
Yeah.
I remember when a friend from Yorkshire came down and was like, met me after work, and we were on the tube on the way out somewhere or home or whatever. And he was like talking and singing and talking to people. And he said to one woman, oh, you look like you had a hard day. Are you okay? Like typical, like chatty Northern. I was like, we don't do that here. And bless him, everyone looked at him suspiciously. But then eventually, because he was so like amiable, they were all like joining in and singing. Bizarre, but that's rare. That's rare, especially rush hour London commute, because they're so hellish and people have to do it twice a day, every day. You just want to get your head down and imagine you're somewhere else, whether that's listening to music, off in your own thoughts, reading a book, and just, On that note, question 3, what's the typical mood of commuters at 8 a.m.? A, joyful and chatty. B, deeply reflective poets. C, silent and slightly annoyed. Or D, singing loudly. This is London commuters.
C, silent and slightly annoyed.
I would argue that they're C, silent and just very annoyed. Okay, question 4. What's the iconic underground logo called? We all know it. A, the circle thing. B, the roundel. C, the tube target. Or D, the red donut.
Tube target.
You think they would name a thing a target? That seems, even in 1800s Britain, risky. It's B, the roundel. You're still on 4 points. What's the best way, question 5, to survive rush hour? A, meditation. B, accept your fate. C, become one of the crowd. Or D, all of the above.
Oh, fucking all of the above.
Also, swearing under your breath, out of body experiences,
stimming, clutching things, rocking.
Masks. Do you know, when I used to commute into town, and it was like an hour and a half each way, rush hour tube traffic, for those of you who've never had to do it in London, sometimes the carriages are so crowded, you're obviously never getting a seat, but sometimes there'd be times where it was so crowded, my feet weren't even touching the ground because you get squished in so much, you're lifted up almost.
And then you actually didn't think it could get any more squashed. And then someone would shout from the outside, come on, move in, move in.
Yeah, move in. It's like we literally cannot breathe.
More, and you're like, no, this is wrong.
And then obviously the evening rush hour, the same, except everyone smells worse because they've been eating, sweating, whatever. And I remember when I went self-employed, one of the reasons was because I couldn't, with the time of the journey, but I was exhausted all the time and I felt like I was constantly coming down with something. I genuinely think I was fighting stuff off all the time because every single day I'm in a carriage with hundreds of people breathing on me, whatever. I was fighting a massive amount of germs all of the time, not to sound like my nervous mother, Then we had COVID in the pandemic. You get a re-education of how airborne diseases can be. And you're like, yeah, I really was, So it's so grim. It's so grim. It makes you totally understand why people in Asia wear face masks all the time.
Right? I think if I went back to London, I would put on a face mask now. I would have no hesitation.
Yeah, I didn't the other day and I felt run down and I'm convinced it was because someone sneezed on me. So yeah, there you go. You got 5 out of 5.
Did I? No, I didn't get the L thing.
Yes, but you got a bonus point.
Oh, I did. Okay, cool.
All right. Well, that was our King's Cross fire.
Well, it's so tragic. So tragic. Those poor families. And, I'm sure we've learned a lot from that, which is no consolation to those families, I'm sure. But tragedies do happen a lot, don't they?
Yeah. And it's really sad that sometimes they're the only thing that causes institutional change, and I was going to say at a faster pace. Because, like I said, that last wooden escalator only left Greenford Station in 2014. I remember wooden escalators.
I do, but I was starting to doubt myself because when you said that this happened in like 1987, I just assumed they would all be banned straight away and taken away. But that's obviously a huge amount of money because I do remember them.
Yeah. And they always felt like they came from the fucking Middle Ages.
And it was weird because they would go into and they had a funny noise. I remember there was a noise to
they
them.
just did not feel safe or good. Well, on that note, I love you. And I love our sexy listeners.
I like our sexy listeners. How it took me so long to give my love.
Do you want to hear a bit of exciting news about the rest of the season?
Please.
Next week, I've got another case for you, which is awesome. Well, I say awesome. It's traumatic, but really fascinating. And then I'm not going to reveal too much. But then after that, we're going to end the season with a two-parter, big one.
Oh.
Yeah. And then we will take a short little break because we are tired and old.
We are tired. We're old. We're just tired and old.
And we need a holiday. All right. Well, love you all. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Like this episode? Want more? Come visit me, Isla, at Crimley Good Books in the heart of York. We're an independent bookshop dedicated entirely to crime. From cosy mysteries to gritty thrillers, historical whodunits to juicy true crime. We've got signed editions, special gifts and plenty of recommendations for your next obsession. We also host a bunch of awesome author events. Can't make it in person? Visit us online at crimleygoodbooks.co.uk.